She follows around on live games. She was in Malaysia a few months ago for live
Oh,
game. Yeah.
you're talking about Timothy's daughter, Dr. Timothy's daughter.
Yes.
Oh, when
Timothy's
we were there,
daughter.
she was just born. She was a little infant.
But she was in Malaysia just a few months ago.
Really?
Live game
Oh,
also.
okay. Okay. Hey, Kamyu didn't say it.
Yes. Camille is running it, I
Kamyu is
think.
now in charge.
Yes.
Okay, good. Nice place to stay. Easy access to MRT. Just walk down.
Yes, it's nicer now with us around.
Okay. Lamel, what's up, Lamel?
Sure, of
We're
course.
going to have our Foursquare retreat there.
Yes, please come. Please come.
Okay, we're just gonna give a few more minutes for some of the people who might be late. Show them a bit of grace, and but I'm very happy with what's going on. Feel free to connect with one another. It would really help if you put the name of your church behind your name, or if you're from another country, you can put which country you are from as well. Church or country, whichever is relevant. Most of us here are from Malaysia. Many pastors here. So thank you all for giving time to upgrade yourself so that you can minister more effectively. I think we will start at 8:08 because I like the number. Yeah. All right. But feel free to interact a little, just 5 more minutes while we wait for everyone to show up. All right. So I see Philippines is here. Hong Kong, and perhaps even Indonesia as well. And all the Malaysians. Oh, China also got China also represented.
Hi, Lưu Ninh.
Yeah.
还好吗？你那边？
很好，很好。
Okay.
Myanmar also here. Hello, Lun Sen.
Oh, Lun Sen. Oh, that's Lun Sen. Okay. Oh, sorry, the screen was so small I couldn't see you.
He's not the lecturer. I'm the lecturer now.
Oh,
Okay.
hi, Pastor Chun Ho.
So if your church members want to be here, not here yet, just drop them a message. We're going to start in 4 minutes.
By the way, Pastor Lemel, where are you now? I mean, location-wise, you were traveling.
Yeah, I was in Sabah last week and then Serinda, and now I'm back home finally.
Okay.
Oh, some people are asking me for the link to they did not receive. Did you all receive the link after you signed up in your email, right?
Yes, immediately, yes.
Yes. I think too long ago already.
But you did send a last-minute notification today, right?
Yeah, I was a bit concerned because some people did not receive it. So again lah. Right. We have expecting a total of 35 packs. No, more by now. There's more than 35 registered. 35 registered, but some are coming in as refugees, unregistered participants. So thank God Trump doesn't run this place, but we welcome all.
No deportation, yeah.
Yeah. The fee is a small fee to just we want to confirm the attendance. That's what we wanted to do. Next time I think can make even smaller because actually it's quite a hassle to log in and pay, right? Maybe just 5 ringgit, but the act of going to your app and paying, that one is a commitment already. Yeah.
Must pay lah, cannot be free all the time.
Malaysia.
All right. If really pay, we cannot afford Samuel already lah.
Yeah, it's true.
Samuel, normally if you give a 4-hour session on AI, how much commercially?
About 10,000 a day.
That's 1 day already, right? 4 hours, half day. So 5,000.
Full day lah.
Full day.
But depends lah. How complex it is.
All right. So if you're joining with a phone, it's a good idea to get another device with you. So because we're gonna immediately try some things, all right? If you're on a computer, you can always open another tab. Okay, so have your tabs ready, ChatGPT, and if you've not signed up for the free accounts, please do so. All right, just one more minute and we'll go. So you can start opening up all the different things you might need later, which was sent to you also.
Thanks for coordinating, Lamel.
Welcome, welcome. All right, and if you're just joining, go ahead and put your name of your church behind, or even your country if you're not not from Malaysia. All right. So based on what I'm seeing on screen, most of you all are either pastors or church leaders right now. Exactly the type of people we want here. Welcome, Johan from Sri Lanka. You are the one that came from furthest away. Even different time zone. All right, it's 8:08, so let's get this show on the road. Welcome, everybody. On behalf of, I don't know, I guess on behalf of the Malaysian churches and your church, thank you for spending your evening here. You could have been watching Netflix, doing anything else, but you chose to be here to learn, to grow, and your church will thank you. All right. And you will also thank yourself as you find ways to make your process easier to administrate, to run your church. We will start. Let me just introduce Samuel. Samuel is our speaker for this evening and also on Thursday evening as well. You would have read his bio already as on the promo material that is on social media. But I guess more importantly is he is a member of Victory Church, as you can see. That's his church, which is my church. Proud member, pastor of this member, and we are Foursquare Church. So this was organized by our church and Foursquare Gospel Church of Malaysia. Our team is here from church to help coordinate, to help host this Zoom meeting as well. Thank you, Karine from Victory Church, for helping us out with the Zoom meeting. And before we start, let me just, before I pass the time to Samuel, let me just say an opening prayer for all of us for this evening. All right? Let's pray. Lord Jesus, we want to thank you for this opportunity for us to continue to grow. No matter how old, how young we are, you still want us to grow. You are not finished with us. Remind us always that even as while we still have breath in our lungs, you mean for us to grow. You mean for us to continue to improve. I thank you for all these pastors who are here representing the different churches and ministries. I pray that even as they do this, you will continue to bless their ministry, bless their church, bless even their families as well. I pray for those who join us from other countries. Not only will their church be blessed, but even the countries that they represent will be blessed because of them as well. Thank you for these few evenings. We also pray for Samuel. We thank you for Samuel for availing himself to do this. We pray that even as he invests his time in this way, he will see a return in his investment on time, that he'll be able to see the fruits of the seeds that he's sowing even these 2 evenings that we are spending together. So bless Samuel, I pray, and bless all these people who are on this Zoom meeting right now. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Amen. So Samuel, over to you. He's going to introduce himself a little bit more. And just a little bit of housekeeping before I pass it to Samuel completely. If you have questions, you can put it in the chat, or you can raise your hand and we will address them. And if it is not how to say an immediate, like a question that's very immediate or urgent, you can write it down first, and at the end of each block we will stop and we will open up for questions as well. But if it's an urgent question, go ahead and raise your hands, and then you can unmute yourself and ask that question. Okay, so but in the meantime, while the presentation is going on, it would be helpful if you can mute your mic And yeah, so that would be all. So over to you, Samuel.
Right. Thank you, Pastor Lamil. Good evening, everybody. I hope you guys are all ready and eager to learn. So I'll just do a very quick introduction of myself, and then I'll jump into it. Right. So first and foremost, I'm going to put this out there. I am not an AI expert because it is actually very intimidating when people say they are an AI expert. It can range from I have a ChatGPT Premium to I do everything on AI. All right. But just a quick introduction about myself. So by education, I am a mechanical engineer, but I left it behind the moment I started work, jumping into sales and marketing, and then eventually into private equity, and then into consulting. So in nature, I'm more of a consultant, looking into everything from strategy to marketing, and then in other forms of technology coming in, blockchain, NFTs, and then now with AI, it has actually helped me. So maybe just a quick background how I got into this whole generative AI/AI space, right? So this was way back in 2019, 2020, where I was looking around for technology that will help me in terms of, I guess, running my business. At the same time, also doing my work as a consultant. And that was a period of time where AI started to pop up as I guess, as a buzzword, even back in 2020 already, during COVID, before COVID. Then during 2022, of course, when ChatGPT was launched, it became a godsend because from then till now, I would say AI has pretty much taken over quite a bit of my work as a consultant, as well as other things that I do for other business. So I also do attend Victory Church over here at Bandar Utama, Malaysia. So thank you all for spending your time with us. And I will be jumping straight into it. So this whole webinar/workshop thing really came about through conversations. We were having conversation with friends, we were having conversations with some pastors, and questions were popping up. I mean, there were, of course, questions related to how can I use AI at church? How do I use AI for this and all that? But there were also questions related to, is AI safe to use? Is it, will it hurt the church? Will it, what are the ethics, governance? Is it safe? Will whatever I'm going to be posting up on ChatGPT or DeepSeek and all, will it be used inappropriately? I mean, so there were a lot of other questions that were coming, and I'm in part of a couple of WhatsApp groups that is related to AI. We've got one WhatsApp group that really just talks about governance and data and the new tech, but we've also got another AI group with other people as well, where we talk about church and Christianity and AI and technology and all other things. And so that's where a lot of these questions and ideas are forming about. So we decided, I mean, Pastor Lamil and I, we were just talking and I say, hey, it'd be good to just get this information out because there were so many questions related to this space. Why don't we share and educate as much as we can, instead of it coming in and becomes a more reactive thing when it comes, questions would come or I don't know what is going to happen in the next few months and all. All right. So this is where we are starting from. And like Pastor Lamil said, if you have any questions whatsoever, feel free to just drop it into the chat group, and I will try my best to answer as much as possible. But meanwhile, I've tried to incorporate some of the questions that has come in through your Google form and all. And I will try to address as much as possible. So let me just quickly share my screen and then we'll jump into it. Share sound and okay. So AI for Churches workshop. So here is where we are. Give me a thumbs up if you can see the screen. All right. Oops. Slideshow. Okay. So this was a bunch of questions were sent out, right? And one of the questions were, I mean, have you ever used AI tools before? And of course, those who have used AI tools, we also ask what kind of tools that you were using and all. So it was quite interesting to know that at least majority of people have actually touched some parts of tool. AI tool, I would say lah. But in reality, I would like to also put it up there. If you have ever used YouTube, you have ever used TikTok, you have ever used Google, or any of the mainstream tools, Netflix, Spotify, and all those actually already do have AI embedded in it. But most of the time, you wouldn't know that it's an AI that's pulling it behind, which is the current reality right now. A lot of things are happening without us also knowing what is actually going on. And the either good or bad thing, it is actually influencing our behavior and the way we think, the way we act, whether we acknowledge it or not. So I think it's good as we go into this space, also have that conscious mind to understand what is happening right now and what can potentially be happening in the next future. So the way I've sort of structured this two days section will be the first part. It's really focusing more on the fundamental evolution, exploration of AI, and the question that we put it out there, right? Hey, is it a friend or is it a foe? Should I be afraid of it or should I be embracing it? And understand the risk and benefit. And then once that is done, we'll go a bit into the whole generative AI space. And today will be a bit hands-on as well, where I will just go through some of the prompting exercise and I'll explain what prompting is, etc. Right. So today, I guess, is more fundamental in nature. On the second day, Thursday, when you guys are back, we'll be exploring a lot more interesting stuff where I can show you things like, hey, how do you create a presentation slides in a minute, right? And get it translated in another minute. And then we'll be able to come up with Bible study podcasts, etc., coming from it, and other AI tools that pops up in the next few days as well. And I'll be sharing more towards that. But today, I guess, we'll be more focused on the fundamental a bit. There'll be some hands-on. So if you guys are on your laptop, it'll be good to have your laptop ready. We'll be doing some exercises through ChatGPT and a couple more LLMs as we get along. All right. Do stop me if I talk too fast because I have a tendency to do so. The last training where I did the whole intro to AI part took almost a day. So I'm trying to sort of squeeze everything down in the 2 hours. But if I'm talking too fast, just put a pause to say, hey, I need to slow down. All right. Or just wave because I have another screen over here that shows me. Okay, so let's jump into it. AI in church, is it a friend or foe, right? So one thing we do know is that AI is transforming communication, outreach, administration, even in churches around the world. And I've personally done quite a number of research. through AI, of course, and sort of nailed down specifically which areas where AI it's a bit more, I guess, obvious. At the same time, also embedded into the operations. But at the same time, we are also researching in terms of where AI is being used, I guess not in a good manner as well. I'm not sure if you've heard, but a couple of months ago, there was a report or a news where a church in England was having a ChatGPT pastor using ChatGPT to write the sermon, answer questions from the crowd, the congregation, and eventually also start preaching through that, which, right or wrong, let's explore it in the next few slides. All right, but AI is definitely changing the world. As a church, it's ultimately up to us whether we must decide whether we want to fear it, reject it, or use it wisely. And so the goal of this workshop is really to equip churches with the AI knowledge and tools while maintaining biblical wisdom. I would just like to put it out there. AI, I would say whether we want to acknowledge it or take it in or what, it is coming. It is already embedded into a lot of things that we do, specifically in Malaysia, because I also do work with the education sector as well. In Malaysia, in the next few years, AI is going to be a very important curriculum. I wouldn't say subject, but rather skill that will be taught in schools as well. All right, so our kids, how many of you have kids here? I'm not sure, at least my kids are already growing up with AI. My son, at 12 years old, he used AI to get his apprenticeship into a gaming company, and not the casino gaming, but the gaming, mobile gaming kind of thing. And everything was done through AI, from the email that he was writing to the interview, setting things up, and even using AI for his work at 12 years old. So whether we want to acknowledge it or use it or not, it is coming in. So the goal of this workshop is really to equip the churches with as much knowledge and tools while maintaining the wisdom that God has given us. All right, but before jumping into all those things, some theoretical stuff, just to put it out there so that you guys also know what AI is and what elements of AI that is coming in the next few months or years. So AI in a nutshell is basically any computer system that can do things that normally require human intelligence. And it's not something that I would say it's completely new. It's been around for many, many years. If you guys watched the show, what was it called? The Enigma Code. Right. So that was, I think, about Alan Turing. So that was based on the World War that happened back in the 1940s, right? Where they, I can't remember which country was it, but they used AI to decipher the German codes, right? So it's been around for many, many years, really. AI has been around. It only has gotten mainstream, I think, since OpenAI, ChatGPT launched it back in 2022, where it became a buzzword. But in a nutshell, basically AI is any computer system that can do things that normally require human intelligence. And under the subset of artificial intelligence, it is machine learning, where we have supervised and unsupervised. So supervised, basically it's telling the machine that, hey, do this, this means this. Therefore, they are learning as humans are supervising it to learn as well. Unsupervised is where machine learning takes over the learning process on its own and try to also learn a few things. So if you have ever used, or let's say when you're creating your passwords, right? Have you ever come across this CAPTCHA thing, right? Ask you to identify, like, is this 1, 2, 3, what letter is it, what animal, hey, what picture, find the fire hydrant, then you have to click. So what you're actually doing, you're actually helping to train the AI. All right. So whether if it's Google or companies that are putting it, reCAPTCHA and all those things, they are using the data inputs from us humans, telling that, hey, this is a fire hydrant, this is a bridge or a bicycle and all. And what it's being used is the computer, then it's learning, the machine is basically learning to identify all these patterns, because human is actually telling the computer that, hey, this is this, etc. So that's a form of machine learning that is supervised. But once you go a deeper level, deep learning is coming. So in a nutshell, I would say deep learning, it's more of like an advanced machine learning. The only difference is deep learning uses neural networks. So it's sort of like a simplified brain. It mirrors the way how a human brain works, but in a much simplified manner. And that's where learning becomes a lot more faster and all. All right. So under deep learning, then that's where they give birth to things like generative AI, large language model, etc. All right. Have I lost you guys yet? Oh. All right, so moving on. This, I would say, the next two slides are I would say it's important to be aware of on what is coming at the same time of what is being discussed in, I would say, the AI world. So key stages in AI development, I mean, it starts off with traditional AI, so things which are basically simple automation, etc., chatbots. Every time you try to get your refunds from AirAsia. So that's that, I would say, still traditional AI coming in to not answer as much as they can, right? Okay. But those are what automation comes in. So I would say that's still traditional AI in nature. But where it is being sort of progressing towards is from generative AI to agentic AI. So generative AI are things like ChatGPT, Claude, things that can create original content, right? So text, images, I mean, even sermons, if to a certain extent. We'll talk about that in a bit. But basically, it is demonstrating some sort of creativity and adaptability. And this is progressing much further in towards the world of agentic AI, which is going to be a buzzword this year. Generative AI, I would say, was something that was talked a lot about last year. Agentic AI is something that's going to be talked about a lot this year, because it's taking generative AI a step further, where AI will actually do the task on your behalf. All right, so I really do have one agent that actually helps me to do certain things. So I was actually trying to teach it to order Domino's for me. Logging into Domino's, ordering what I normally would order, and then eventually paying directly using what I have saved on my browser, etc. I mean, that's a very simple way of agentic AI, but eventually AI will be doing most of the work, and human, I guess even managers or executives will be upskilled. I mean, this talking more from a corporate world perspective as well, right? Managers, executives will be upskilled to be supervising AI as their worker instead. All right. So that is already being discussed and being put into implementation sometime this year already. And you start seeing more of this popping up, whether we want to acknowledge it or not. All right. So that's just the agentic AI. And then of course it will then fall into physical AI. So things like sensor, like the self-driving cars that we see, Tesla, and eventually more, and all these things will be coming in as well, where things will be able to manage and make decision and execute on its own. All right. But to put it a step further, because one of the biggest question is, will AI come to a point where it will be able to even supersede human intelligence, right? So that's the whole world of Terminator, and the world is going to end. And then Netflix just released the show where robots can start to, I can't remember what's the show, but I just saw it yesterday with Chris Pratt and Millie Bobby Brown inside, right? Where it's a whole talking robot scenario, which is where this thing comes in. So there's another way to also define AI by capabilities. So right now we are talking narrow AI. So things like even generative AI, agentic, and physical AI, all these things sits in what we call narrow AI because it is designed to do specific things. And things that it wasn't designed to do, it will not do. It will learn as much about the task to do it, but there will always be some sort of limitation to what it can do. All right, so that's what is being categorized as narrow AI. General AI is where AI is able to not just learn on its own, it's also able to reason and also execute. So it's very close towards what possibly a human can do in theory. All right. And that was the reason why like Sam Altman, etc., was fired a couple of months ago. I mean, last year. So Sam Altman is the guy behind OpenAI, which came up with ChatGPT. But he was fired and then brought back and all because a lot of the debates were happening about this thing called general AI. Because in general AI, there will be a lot less, I guess, human supervisory and telling it what can it do or what can't it do, etc. Right? Because you are already sort of trusting AI to do the right thing on its own. All right. But there are, of course, robots being homods and AI learning on its own, there will always be areas where it can potentially hurt or harm as well. Okay. So that's where general AI, right now, it is still theoretical in nature. It hasn't come to reality yet, but that is where most, I guess, organizations who are involved in AI are working towards, yet still putting in the safe clauses as they plan and execute it. And of course, the I guess super AI, as the name say, is the super AI, where it becomes self-aware. Right now, it is not in part of any discussion apart from what is in the movies. But this is the place where AI will start to surpass human intelligence and start not just doing, but thinking, even leading some of the things that is going to be, I mean, the way what humans are doing right now. All right. So just to put it out there so that you're aware of some of the definitions of what are being talked about when people talk about AI. All right. So the question that we have for today, AI friend or foe? Maybe this can be a poll by itself already, right? Do people think, is it something that we should fear or should it be something that we should embrace? Okay lah. I will just zoom past this because we don't have a lot of time, but just to put it out there, some of the headlines that has been, I mean, I pulled this up from a couple of news outlets, right, on some of the headlines. Now, if you do not know, DeepSeek that was launched, I think just about 2 months ago, has rised up to be the second most used AI web app around the world. And in China specifically, what was reported is people have actually gone to DeepSeek to, I mean, this is especially among the young people, right? They've gone to DeepSeek to seek emotional support, right? They're instead of going to human or to people to talk about it, they're actually turning to an AI called DeepSeek to voice their concerns, voice their distress, to lean on it for emotional support, etc. Right? And this is raising alarms on privacy risk and ethical implications, right? Because you're relying on basically algorithms for your mental health, right? So this is happening right now. And all these things, what you're reading over here, is happening right now. OpenAI ChatGPT has become the go-to tutor for students, but we do know that AI is trained on, I mean, billions of parameters that may be biased, and I mean, we'll talk more into that, but there are a lot of things that we need to be aware of in terms of how AIs are being trained as well. Grok XAI. So XAI basically is the AI company that is being funded and founded by Elon Musk. So they're the company behind Tesla, Twitter, now X.com, etc. So they also have their own AI platform. Grok is their model. I don't know why he called it Grok, but knowing Elon Musk, he's got weird names for a lot of things. But all right, so he called his AI platform Grok, and in a way, it also acts a bit like Elon Musk himself, where there's no barrier to what he talks about, etc. So in this Grok AI, it's a lot more unfiltered in its responses, because they learn a lot from what has been put onto Twitter. All right, so learning, and Twitter is one of the largest social platform around the world last time, and now it's X.com, right? And so there are a lot of context, a lot of stuff that is being put up there. Some may be true, some may be not, but regardless, those data are also being used to train Grok under XAI lah. All right. Some like it, some don't, but it's polarizing how people are using it. And Anthropic Claude, of course, is it's based in Europe, and also it's hailed as one of the safe AI alternative, but there are questions whether how safe it really is, or it's really suppressing stuff and all that. So there's a lot of debate even within the various different AI large language models already, LLMs, right? So moving on, there is a lot more that's going on, but I guess when we talk through it, what one question as a church we should have is what should be our stand, and that's something that we can go through in a bit. All right. I will try to not take up too much time, but just putting up a few points over here based on, and this one is up to interpretation. What I've done over here is I've used Grok as one of the tools to do a deep research in terms of what churches are saying about AI. All right. So over here, what you're seeing is a combination of I would say research done across 100 different resources, and putting together on what the church is saying about AI right now, whether if it's a friend, does benefit the church, or are there risks for it? So I'll just cover very quickly on the benefit side of things. I mean, very obvious, there is a lot of efficiency that can be brought about using AI itself, because it can do things like automate tasks, scheduling, bookkeeping, donation management, and what it takes away is a lot of the administrative non-added value work, which then allows the church then to focus on what it needs to do more of, which is pastoral care etc. All right. And of course, it's got a lot of analytics also to help analyze audience trends, improving decision making, etc. But okay, very quickly, I'm just going to put this out there. So one church actually went another step further where they started to analyze the donation trends and the offering and tithes trends. And then they were able to identify, all right, this guy's donation has been going up and down and he hasn't been giving as much. Why is that happening, etc.? Then the AI is able to analyze as well. All right, what's been happening over there? All right. So that's on the other negative side of things. But on an administrative efficiency, it has proven very useful. It's also being able to personalize engagement because AI can tailor interactions such as follow-ups, etc. Right. So if somebody visits your church, and AI can easily do, let's say, an email or a WhatsApp that follow up specifically on the context of what has been, let's say, mentioned in church or what was discussed, etc. Right. It's also able to personalize like things like devotional content for individual, I guess, users as well. Accessibility inclusion, so tools like audio captioning, etc., ensure services are accessible. So for people who are dyslexics, people who are of, different languages or have hard of hearing, etc. There are a lot of tools out there that is helping to include these groups of people into the church as well. All right, so that has sort of broadened the outreach circle of what a church can do. In terms of content development as well, AI is able to assist in a lot of things. Sermon preparations would be one, but also going to, like I mentioned earlier as well, generating slides, illustrations, structuring thoughts, critiquing. If you're a pastor and you've prepared a sermon, you can actually ask the AI to help critique and then say, how can I be better in terms of what sermon I've written, right? And they'll be able to also help you with that and come up with some ideas as well. But in terms from a content development side of things, it can do things like even creating, let's say, Sunday school slides for kids, or coming up with animations, coming up with music that can, royalty-free music that can be used in churches and in other, I guess, other classes as well. So making things more engaging, making it more relevant. So I would say there are a few more things, I guess, on the benefit side of things that we can cover, but otherwise the slides would take too long. But right, to focus a bit more in terms of the risk and ethical concern. So one thing we need to be aware of is now all the AI tools, like I mentioned just now, from ChatGPT to DeepSeek, etc. Fundamentally, all of it are trained based on text or information which have been published publicly, whether it's internet or on books, etc. Right now, all of these things that has been written or what has been trained for, fundamentally makes up how AI large language models work, right? So beyond that itself, it's also learning through what information is being fed to it. All right. So every time when someone uses an AI, whether if it's ChatGPT or DeepSeek or even Claude and all, information that is being fed in is also being used to train. All right. So there were some concerns about, hey, why does this image generated look so much like my grandson or like my daughter, etc. So things like this are raising concerns because right now, depending on which organization, and I'll cover that towards the end, right? In terms of what organization is more transparent with the way they handle the data and privacy laws, and which one are more, I guess, shady in nature, etc. But whatever it is, privacy and data security is something that we need to be aware of, not just in terms of how the data is being trained on, but the way how that data is also being handled. All right. Okay, and I'll talk more about that. The second part of it is loss of human connection. So like I mentioned earlier, itself over-reliance on AI, not just as a virtual assistant, but even replacing as a pastor, because one of the questions I think that was coming, will AI be able to replace 100% of what a pastor would do, right? That one we can continue to debate about it, but over reliance on AI such as virtual assistants and replacing pastoral care actually could diminish the personal touch. I mean, ultimately, the call of the church also is to fellowship one another and all, right? And so, I mean, being physical, etc., it's important, the coming together of brothers and sisters in church. I mean, all those things are still important, but if we are over relying on AI to do such things, will that cause a loss of that human connection? So that's something that we need to be aware of. The third one would be the ethical cultural bias issues, linked to the first part as well, right? In terms of how the data is being trained on books which are written, blogs which have been written, videos that has been shot and produced, etc. All of it have different points of view, right? Some will be more balanced, but there will be perhaps a lot more which are biased in nature, right? Because they are talking from the author's point of view. And if AI algorithms are learning from this sort of, I guess, education, it can potentially lead to unfair decisions or even cultural and ethical bias, right? So this will always require careful monitoring to align with the church values, right? So at this point in time, I would say that AI won't be able to replace the work of what majority of the church would do, but it can help. But at the same time, also we need to be careful of what the AI is generating back for us. All right, which of course, once all this thing comes in, that's where potentially misinformation and manipulation can come in as well. AI could generate false theology, create deep fakes, which can affect not just the church leaders, but also the members of the church, right? Which then highlights the need for discernment, because eventually there'll be things like, hey, did my pastor really say this? If let's say the video that's being shared across or a prominent, let's say, church leader that you are following, right? Did they actually say what they are saying? Or is it something that is being used as a deep fake? And in fact, you want to see, maybe tomorrow I'll show you a deep fake of me, how easy it is to create and clone my own voice. But lastly, of course, is the theological implications, right? The use of AI in spiritual context raises question about its moral agency and the role of liturgy, the traditions that we make. Can AI take over the role of the church pastor, priest, minister, etc.? All these things have theological implications that might affect even the rituals and the traditions of the church. Now, there's a lot more things to cover. So what I will encourage, all right, a quick note, all right, you don't have to take any picture of all the slides the slides will be shared with you because there will be things to click on and all. So I will be sharing the slides in a Google shared slide format. The reason, and it will be for a limited time. The reason I'm putting a limited time is because at the pace of which AI is progressing, most likely a lot of things that I'm sharing right now will probably be obsolete in the next few months as well. So I'll just put it out there for a limited time. But meanwhile, you guys don't have to record down, take picture of any of this. I will be sharing these across. Now, what you'll be able to do, you can see over here, right? grok.com.share. What has been done is, once you get the slide, you can click on this. It will bring you to the actual conversation of Grok doing the research itself, because I put it out there, right? We'd like to debate this topic, AI for church. Is it a friend or foe? Right? Benefits, what the risk, and what should be the stand of church. And it went through 70 resources here, went through all these things, generate a report, and this whole thing was researched and reported for me, like what the benefits of the church is. So what you can actually do is continue the conversation from here, right? If you have any questions, you can just press this button called continue conversation and continue to ask as well. What does certain thing mean, etc. Okay, it's not popping up now, but okay, you can. So you can just click on this and continue conversations and see what other thoughts and ideas that might be popping up.
Samuel,
all good?
Samuel,
Yes.
can you share that link in the chat?
Maybe I'll share it later because I haven't divided out slide day 2 yet.
All right, sure. Thank you.
All right. So it's all embedded in. All right. So very quick summary: benefits on the left, risk, ethical concerns on the right. And there are many more that we need to be aware of. But having this point of view, personally, I still do think there is definite benefit in terms of, and I wouldn't say fully embracing, but at least understanding what AI is and understanding what AI can be used for that can help us in terms of more of the things on the left-hand side. All right. All still with me? Okay, now to the fun stuff. So let's begin to learn and maybe play around as well on generative AI. Now, it's good that most of you have already sort of touched and used some sort of, whether if it's ChatGPT or DeepSeek or some other tool. I saw somebody use Poe.com. That's great. But I think I would like to also just cover a couple of things, because one of the most fundamental things when I work with people on AI, right, is how do I get the right output from using any of these tools that I have. So just to share with you right now, this is as of, I think, January data that was, this research was done, right, where currently this is the top 50 Gen AI web products in the world. ChatGPT, namely number 1 right now, which is the most widely used generative AI product across the world, followed by DeepSeek, which is the China version of ChatGPT. Now, ChatGPT, of course, does not work in China, so that's why DeepSeek created their own as well. So DeepSeek can work very well in China, but now it's also being banned in US. So a lot of political stuff that's going on over there. But that's number 1 and number 2. Now, if you see things like Character AI, Janitor AI, Spicy Chat AI, all these things are AI that will allow users to chat with various characters that is being made up. So you can chat with Barack Obama or somebody that's a chat that has been designed to talk like Donald Trump, etc. And to a certain extent, people have also created characters that mimic their grandparents who passed away as well. And then they use this to talk to them. All right. And you can see the reason why it's also appearing over here is people are going towards this for companionship, for support, etc. All right. And they're leaning more towards AI, towards that. That's the reality of the world. Character.ai is the 3rd most popular Gen AI web product out there. And the rest of it, we'll go through a couple of this, but giving you a very quick scenario over here, there is a lot of large language model AI out there. Some, I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with what you see over here. People are familiar maybe with ChatGPT, but not understanding within even ChatGPT itself, you have a lot of models. You've got 4.5, 4.0, etc. You've got this company called Anthropic, which comes up with Claude, etc. DeepSeek, we've got V1, R1, V2, that's in Google. Just this week alone, there were 2 other companies that launched. Baidu just launched their own LLM model. And then the other company, what was it? Alibaba as well has their own. So this whole place is very confusing. It can be a lot and can be very confusing. So I will try my best to go in. You don't have to see any of this. I will try my best to show you what are the things best, which one you should use for which. All right. Otherwise, you can be lost for various things. But to note, previously, when ChatGPT was launched back in 2022, generative AI it's more specific towards text-based generations, right? So you ask a question, you come out with something, it will just come back in text. But right now, we have moved on towards coding, images, videos, and so much more. All right, and we'll go into those few things in a moment. Now, the main thing about using any AI tool is this concept of prompting, where prompting is basically the practice of crafting clear and specific instructions to guide an AI model. So we haven't gone to the phase of the AI understanding you well enough to do the thing for you yet. We're still in the phase of AI still needs instructions from a human to tell it what to do. All right. And the whole concept behind it is this thing called prompting. In the past, maybe prompting would be in the nature of coding codes, etc., like putting ones and zeros or various programming language in telling it what to do. But in this day and age of AI, prompting is using our own natural language itself, whether if it's English, whether it's in Chinese, in Malay, or Bahasa Indonesia, or all right, it's using our own natural language to tell it what to do. And effectively, it's really all about providing the AI with the right input to get the right output. So if it's garbage in, it'll be garbage out. So the more context and inputs we give the AI, the better the output can potentially be. So the way I would always frame it would be, think of AI like an assistant and that needs instruction to work rather than a tool. Because a tool, basically you expect the tool to do what it's supposed to do, but an AI needs to sort of be instructed like an assistant or an intern. So imagine you are hiring an intern for your church office and all, right? How would you give instructions to them, right? So let's try some simple exercises. So if you have your laptop with you and you have ChatGPT open, you can try this. Okay, exercise, just open up ChatGPT.
How to open?
Yeah, so you can look at the link here, chatgpt.com, or you can just go to Google and search chatgpt.com as well. Maybe I can just put it in the chat too. Okay, that's chatgpt.com and try
Can
to,
we do it? We are supposed to do it in the phone or what?
if you have a laptop, that'll be even better.
Laptop.
Yeah.
Now,
Oops. Okay, chatgpt.com. Okay, which will sort of look something like this. Okay, wait, sorry, this one. Right, once you sign in, then you've got this whole blank screen over here. All right. And try doing this. Oops. Just put this in. Write a sermon outline about forgiveness for a church, and let's see what comes out. So just put it in without doing anything. Click on it. And let's see what comes out. So this is, yeah. You guys get the same thing? I'm guessing it'll be all different, right? So, correct. So what I basically asked ChatGPT is write a sermon outline about forgiveness for church. What ChatGPT did is based on what it is trained on. It is basically churning out this whole thing of a sermon outline called The Power of Forgiveness. And then they come up with a main scripture. We don't even know if it's correct or not. And then it just comes out with introduction, biblical foundation, etc. And it will be, yep, that's what most people you would realize is there will be different stuff that will be coming out for different people. Okay. So quick one, right? Based on what ChatGPT has come up over here, would you say, is it good? Is it bad? Is it acceptable? We can just
my personal opinion.
yes, Pastor Gavin.
Um, it kind of like reduces our cognitive skills.
Don't
And
need to
then,
think
you
as
know,
much already.
yeah, there was a movie that it was a Luke Wilson movie. Let me just get the title of the movie. And Luke Wilson is actually this what was his brother's name?
Owen Wilson.
Yeah, Owen Wilson, that's right.
Yeah.
So this guy, Luke Wilson, had a movie. It was called Idiocracy.
Yes.
Yeah, so so in that movie it was hysterical, of course, and everybody, in the future, everybody became so dumb. And even AI was also dumb.
Mhm.
Yeah, it didn't help lah. So I'm just my only concern is that if we too much of dependency on it, I mean it's a good tool, but if we too much dependency, then our cognitive skills, our spiritual wisdom, discernment, depending on the Holy Spirit, most importantly.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it's like it kind of deteriorate, right?
Yep. Correct. Once you get over reliance on it, right?
Yeah.
But based on the output that you see over here, right? Do you think is it considered good? Is it biblical? Is it something that you would actually use or not?
I think if I'm good as a pastor, I think if I'm going to preach on something, I would, where's my time? I mean, I will take the time, the whole entire week, pray, seek the Lord, and I mean the whole thing is that why did Jesus say that, he will ask the Father to give us his Holy Spirit. And so then if there is no, am I depending on ChatGPT to help me to come up with my sermon, or am I really relying fully on the Holy Spirit of God?
Correct.
Yeah.
So that's a good debate to have, right? So what about the rest? What do you guys think? But based on the output that you guys, it would be definitely different from what I have over here. Would you use it? Would you think it's good, or can it be better, or I won't? It's too scary.
It's quite scary because it's like you don't need God anymore.
Uh-huh.
It's like, it's good in one sense, is everything very fast. You don't have to be headache or crack your head. But
Okay.
but it's like not depending on the Holy Spirit. So
Yeah.
that means that before you use this AI, you better pray. Then that's the right message that come out.
Okay. All right. I mean, we can continue to do it. So the reason why I started with this is that, at least from my point of view, right, it can be completely wrong as well. Let's say if I, as a new church or a new Christian and all, right, may not have, let's say, the full context of everything. At the same time, we haven't gone to the angle, is this from a Baptist point of view, a Presbyterian point of view, a different denomination, if from in a Catholic church itself. I mean, we didn't even mention here what kind of church it is, right? It could be a Mormon church. It could be, a Seventh-day Adventist, or a Satanic church as well, right?
GW.
Right, it could be anything. So I didn't mention anything. I just mentioned church over here. And what ChatGPT did was they assume it's about this particular church, and ta-da, it's over there. All right. So it can be completely wrong in nature as well. Okay, so let's try another thing, right? Moving back to try copying this instead and see what comes out. Let me open up the chat. So you can maybe I should act as an AOG pastor.
Foursquare ni lah.
Or or Foursquare Pastor. Okay, try putting this prompt in. You can open up, let's say, a new chat and see what comes out, and then compare the two of it. I'm guessing your side also will be slightly different from what it is. Is your output similar to what I got on mine, or would it be different? If you were to compare this versus the other one, so if you compare the first one that was generated versus the other one that's being generated, how would you view it? Is it more accurate? Is it more concise?
Typed in Foursquare Pastor. And what came out, I mean, slightly different now.
Yeah.
But adding on Foursquare Pastor doesn't mean it means nuts to them.
It depends on what they're trained on. Yeah.
Maybe if they have no idea what a Foursquare Pastor, maybe we are all square pastors.
Okay.
What is that new Jet Black movie?
All right. So basically what I have done differently between the first one and the second one is just adding a bit more instructions and a bit more context in terms of what I would like to come out. I mean, it's still generic in nature, but from output point of view, you will see the one that has slightly more context and instructions will probably be more focused in nature. I would say the output also will be a bit more, I guess, similar. I mean, compared to the first one. Okay, and the reason why this in just not what I mentioned, right? What input you give comes out with the output that they think is what you need. And this is something that I've learned through experiences and learning from others on how to get the most optimized output from any large language model like ChatGPT and all. So what I have done, and this one is a formula that I would normally use, and feel free to use it, right? Because it will help ChatGPT come up with more accurate outputs, or an output that is more in line with what you would want. I call this impact formula, IMPACT. All right, where firstly it is to tell what the AI itself to act as what, right? So and this is where I can share where it can potentially go wrong, right? Because in the first time that we put it down here is write a sermon outline about forgiveness for church. What can potentially go wrong is that ChatGPT may assume I am not a church pastor. I may be, I don't know, some other person who is preparing a sermon outline for somebody or something, right? And the output itself might be very different, right? It may not assume over here, it might have assumed that, okay, I'm a church pastor, that's why it comes out like that. But in reality, if you put in the same prompt or this line into ChatGPT, it might come up with various different answers as well. And this is where things can potentially go very wrong.
Can GPT be like, you know, some writers, they have ghost writers?
Mm-hmm.
You know, like popular authors, they have ghost writers, writers rather than they themselves. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of ebooks right now are written by AI. But there's a lot of, I would say, things like fine tuning, etc., humanizing to make it sound human. That is another lesson for another day. We can cover that as well. But so just sharing very quickly in terms of how to get the best output and more accurate output from AI. This is one way to do it. Asking AI like ChatGPT to act as somebody, right? Could be a pastor, church leader, or act as a church volunteer, or act as, okay, volunteer is too ambiguous, or a Sunday school teacher, right? What you want it to do, who you want it to be, what you want it to do, which is mission, right? Clarify what the AI should be doing. Should it be writing sermon outline? Should it be generating discussion question, etc. But you want to give it a specific mission of what you want it to do. What purpose is it? Who is it for? Is it for the young? Is it for the youth? Is it for kids? Is it for non-believers, etc.? What's the purpose of it, right? And then followed by the attitude you want it to have. What kind of tone? Should it be friendly? Should it be warm, inspirational, etc.? And then what constraints, if there are certain things that you want to limit the output to, is there, could be word count, could it be style, etc. And then finally, any other tips that you would want to put it in. So if I were to just put this into context of the similar prompt that I would have just now mentioned, right? How it's broken down is like this was what we copied in just now, like act as a pastor preparing a sermon. The mission is to write a sermon outline on the topic of forgiveness. The purpose, this is a congregation of mixed ages, including etc. The tone should be hopeful, encouraging, keeping the outline, etc. And then include. So these are a few very simple way of prompting it. Now, the way how most of these AI tool work also, I mean, you may not need to put in everything. It's good that you have all of this in so that it has more things to work on to come up with a better output, right? If you have all 6 of this, great. Even if you have 2 or 3 of this, and all the output also will still be sometimes. The reason I use sometimes is not all the time. Is sometimes it can be good enough. All right. But as much as possible, if you want to use AI to do the work, you use this impact formula. But here's another quick tip, right? If you would want to, if you forget the formula itself because you don't know what to put in. So here's one thing that I have done. If you open up, you see at the corner, right? You see this, your name at ChatGPT itself. Yeah. You open up ChatGPT, you have this thing called Explore GPT. All right. So what Explore GPT does is it will give you, I guess, create custom versions of GPTs. That means people have actually built customized GPT to do specific tasks. And this is where I myself have used I've built a couple of this to do some of the work. So what I've done is created this thing called prompting for impact. If you just search for this, right, prompting for impact over here, you see this thing prompting for impact. I created this specifically to help with prompting. So if you forget how to come up with a good prompt, this one will sort of refresh your idea, refresh you in terms of what can be done. So let's do a quick exercise again. You guys want to follow me? What we have done is we have Okay lah. So let's try this prompt. I'm just copying this again in, right? Okay. And I purposely put some spelling errors in there. If you were to copy this and go back to, okay, let's go back to this part over here right now. If once you find that prompt, you click on it, help me with a prompt. So I didn't, this one, I don't know what output is this. I made this up. If I were to put this prompt in, what this one is supposed to do is to rewrite this in a manner that will help you get a more optimal output lah. Okay. Okay. Or alternatively is you can, let's say, go back to this. Let's come up with another. Okay. The other way is you can click at, and it will come up with what you have selected before as well. Then type, help me with a prompt. And it will automatically also come up like a reminder on how you should do the prompt. Okay. So here's a quick exercise that maybe you can just get a, I don't know, 5-minute break or something. So just now, I have put in this prompt where I tried as much to follow whatever it is. So I realized where the issue is by the initial instruction that I gave to that custom GPT was to not create any content yet, but to only give me prompt. But this one went on to create the content for it. So it shouldn't be doing this. Let me go and tweak it later. But assuming that you are trying to come up with a new prompt, and I will be sharing some examples over here, right? Where these are some examples for the church itself, examples that we can use. That means you ask it, let's say, act as a church social media team. The mission is to create a post, graphic, etc. What kind of prompt it will come up with? So, you can just make it up on your own. Try it out, and this is where you can play it around. So if let's say I want the AI to act as a Sunday school teacher, I would want you to help me with a slide outline for David and Goliath story. All right, these are for kindergarten kids. Then kids, etc. Right? Need to be fun and engaging. Okay, and simple. Okay, I don't have to use it. Let's see. With this, I didn't even put in everything, and it will come up. Okay, this one I need to fix. So by right, it's supposed to come up with a prompt that I can copy paste lah. All right, but if you guys need a quick way to remember what the impact formula is, this is how it should. You can use it to come up with the right, better output. All right. Any questions? Or we want to have.
Jesus use ChatGPT?
What do you think?
No.
Yeah. Perhaps he might use it for other things. Okay. But I mean, there are a lot of use cases now. So what I've shared so far is a way of how you can get the most out of an output like Project GPT using this formula, but you can easily replace it with any use case that you have, whether you want it to be a Bible school teacher or a Bible school teacher, you can ask it to act like a even church webmaster, etc. Right, coming up with writing blog posts. I mean, these are some examples that you can put in, but not restricted to this. You can technically do anything and ask it to come up with some output lah. And can test it out. All right. Meanwhile, Pastor Lemon, do you want to take a quick break here first?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Let's have 5 minutes. Is that okay? A bio break. And those who don't need a bio break will be here and you can ask some questions. We'll be restarting the session in 5 minutes time.
And meanwhile, let me tweak my GPT.
Anyone has any questions? Was that helpful? Or how about this? Anyone used any of these tools before, or you want to share some ideas how you use it?
Hold this.
Must be information overload, is it? Everybody's still trying to digest.
Yeah, I think the reason why I'm here tonight also because it's curiosity. My church is beginning to, in a small class, membership class, we are beginning to convert, those pages and pages of notes, workshop notes on membership into video, summarizing. I think that's good. So now I know, I mean, they asked a church member to do it. So now I know where it's taken from. So I would be interested to find out as well. I think it's very helpful. It's how you use it. So I like what you said about, yes, ChatGPT and all the other AI stuff, they are tools, but it is important to see them as an assistant. That means it's guided. They are assistant. We're the boss. The moment we lose our authority in what we do, I think that's where the danger is lah.
Yeah.
When we are the boss and AI is an assistant, then we have to be, we'll be more careful, like how we prompt. Just now I was playing with it, like how to write a Pentecostal or no, expository sermon based on Romans and all that. So if you just plug the scriptures and then you do your own homework, I think that's very helpful. But if you just depend on AI 100%, I think it's not helpful at all. It makes us lazy and sermon will be dry, not anointed.
Yeah.
It's how you use it.
Yeah. And as humans, you can know. And
yeah. So I think it's good. There's so much there. So, and actually my organization is also planning one. I wanted more to see a comparison with DeepSeek.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a while.
Yeah, because I don't think I can learn that from my US-based organization.
Correct.
I think I can learn it here. So would that be next week? Oh no, the next session?
No, we'll cover that in the next 45 minutes. Hopefully can finish, not just specific to DeepSeek, but a few other different tools as well. Different other AIs for different stuff.
Can ChatGPT, how should I say, be aligned to the mood that we prompt? Mood or the theme?
You can, in fact, I mean, I didn't cover this, but you can in fact tweak ChatGPT to and program it to be based on your personality also.
Okay.
So if you were to just click over here, you can see this thing called Customize ChatGPT.
All right.
Then you can even put down like what do you want it to say? If I want to, what traits should, okay, let's call this Joker, right? What should ChatGPT call you be Joker? What do you do? Comedian. What traits should ChatGPT make everything funny?
Mm.
All right. I make jokes about everything. About everything, right? Okay, I'm gonna save it, and then I can ask it. Okay, this one not recorded, right?
It
Okay.
is.
Okay, then so I cannot. Let me change. What? How is Liverpool doing this season? Let's see what comes out. Okay, I just click on this thing. I'll cover that. So you see the way how they are talking about it, it's completely different versus how a normal ChatGPT would have replied.
So in the same manner, we can define the prompt, say that create a sermon based on NIV from a Pentecostal perspective.
So I mean, if you use ChatGPT for all the time for all of it, you can use this thing called Custom GPT to train it on how you would think lah. How would you think? What traits it should have, and it's got some what kind of output it would have.
Pastor Nars, I hope that answered your question also.
Okay, let me.
You can say I'm Filipino.
Okay.
The scary part is that we may get addicted to it.
Yeah.
It's just a scary part.
This only ChatGPT, and I mean, the reason why I also started with ChatGPT is because it's the most widely used one in the world. But we'll talk about a few more, which some are much better than ChatGPT for certain things. Like in the next 20 minutes, I'll teach you how to create an app directly from here, an app that you can use straight away.
I had a question that I posted in our chat. I'm just taking from an eschatological view lah. Can AI be used as a tool? Okay, be a tool used by the false prophet, and also have our personal details and information used against us during persecution. Because I've been doing a study on the Book of Revelation for the past 3 years. So that's why I just asked this question because during our class, our session, there was a concern that AI is a tool, and it leaves us somewhat, I think, unnecessarily vulnerable. Yeah, and the thing is, as I said, even though it sounded like a joke just now, but the whole thing about it's like our dependency is, we don't have this no longer using our God-given capacity. And we are depending on all these kind of things. And after all, the initials A and I, the first word is already, artificial intelligence. It's not even like our God-given intelligence is artificial. It's fake, it's counterfeit, and then when we have too much of dependency and reliance on it, then it makes us very vulnerable. And it makes us vulnerable. Then when persecution happens and everything, everybody will be wondering what's going on, what's happening. They have no capacity to discern, to have that wisdom and discernment, that knowledge and then understanding.
Right.
So those are just my concerns.
Yeah. I think that's why, so if as church
There's
pastors,
some-
we need to be aware lah of what's happening. Yes,
Yeah.
Pastor Tam, what?
Something interesting. Yeah, something interesting here in Hong Kong. OpenAI is not available in Hong Kong.
Yeah.
OpenAI is limiting access to ChatGPT in Hong Kong.
Yeah. Under the China regulation, they are trying to clamp it down.
Yeah, and it's also affecting Hong Kong. It's amazing, huh? So I probably have to switch. I have a paid ChatGPT, so I can get something done.
Yeah.
But
Can't,
I
yeah.
can't get it on my handphone.
I've noticed that DeepSeek seems to be biased heavily by the
Yep.
Chinese government beliefs.
So-
So you just have to ask it about Tiananmen Square massacre, and you come up against a wall.
Mhm.
oh, you mean there's a massacre there?
No, whatever you just ask about Tiananmen Square, and then
No,
see
no,
what
no.
it has to say.
I'm joking.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we'll
You
talk
can
about
ask-
that in a while.
I asked ChatGPT a moment ago to write me a sermon about forgiving Najib Razak, and they came up with a sermon.
Yeah, try.
Yeah, what
Right.
about his wife, Rosma?
All right. lah.
All right,
Okay,
we're gonna
continue.
start again.
Oh no, 30 more minutes.
Yeah, Samuel.
Okay,
Back to you.
come. So let's go in and explore a bit more scariness of what is available out there for free. Okay. So just now what you saw on ChatGPT, you would see this couple of buttons, right? You have this thing called search, you've got reason, and I'll show you a few more. This thing, like if you go to DeepSeek, you have this thing called DeepThink search. If I were to go over to Grok, you have this thing called Think Deep Search, etc. So these are things which is currently available for free, which typically in the past was only for paid members. And what this does, and I'll separate this into two things, right? We have the general AI models, which just actually what we have used just now on ChatGPT, the free one, is what they would call the general models. They didn't specifically say it was 4.0 or whatever it is, but it is being powered by general AI models, which are versatile tools to answer things quickly. All right. So if you ask it to, let's say, summarize a text, summarize a book, or come up with some content, these things will do it very quickly, very fast, and occasionally also very blunt. So it's a bit like Peter lah, right? Just go in and do first. So it is good for things which requires things to be done fast without much thinking. So things like writing a announcement, summarizing Bible passages, like mentioned over here, answering basic questions about church history, etc. I mean, all these things, the general AI model is it's good enough. But what you saw just now when I showed you ChatGPT Think or DeepSeek R1 Think and all, right? Those are what they call the reasoning AI models. And what the reasoning AI model basically is really thinking, the AI is basically thinking a bit more versus straight away giving you the answers. So these reasoning models, they are good for things that require multiple step kind of work lah. All right. So for example, things like preparing sermon outlines or things which really require thinking when preparing sermon outlines with theological depth, analyzing biblical concepts or ethical dilemmas, etc. So these are things that maybe you would want the AI to take its time to think a bit more. And I'll show you how it works, because it will also show you how it is thinking. So I'm gonna show you if you want to follow me, you can do this as well. Let's open up. Okay lah. Let's try DeepSeek first. So if you go over to deepseek.com, I will just
This one can do that.
share this. All right. Yeah. Oh, now I just saw. So Pastor Tamwan, you put down the song. Okay. Tomorrow I'll show you how AI can even create worship songs, and then we can debate.
Not tomorrow, day after.
Sorry. Thursday, which is very scary. So if you let's say go over to deepseek.com and you click on chat, and so you come up with this. All right. So
install.
So DeepSeek currently is the number 2 in the world right now. And I mean, the reason why it's number 2 in the world is firstly, I mean, China right now is using DeepSeek since ChatGPT is banned over there, right? So that's why from a sheer volume standpoint it is. But also we realize in other parts of the world, a lot of people are using DeepSeek is because it's cheap. So the way how what do you call AI models like this work, you've got the consumer version, which is what we see over here, but you also have the business version, which is what most businesses are plugged into via what they call APIs and all. And that's where most of these AI models make their money, right? For every time you use them, you actually have to pay, right? ChatGPT is perhaps one of the more expensive one. DeepSeek is roughly about 10% of that cost. So from a business perspective, it is very popular among business users. I mean, just a very quick background. Okay, so if I go over to DeepSeek, I see these two things. Without clicking on this thing called Deep Think and Search, it will function very similar to what ChatGPT would have done just now. So if you use a similar prompt to put in, and you'll get very similar output as what you would have gotten from ChatGPT earlier as well. All right, but the reason why DeepSeek became very popular was because of this thing called the DeepSeek R1 function, because it is they were the first one to make this freely available. ChatGPT, if you want it, you have to pay for it. But for DeepSeek, they made it free, and because of that, it's sort of disrupted. So what you would see is if I were to put in this thing that maybe just put in a bit more, I'll just copy into the chat as well. If I were to put this prompt in, I just made it up, right? Provide a brief overview of major Christian denominations for a newcomer. Start with an overview followed by commonality. Be careful not to portray any bias in the response. If I were to put this, I click Deep Think and I put it in. If you guys want to just take a look very quickly, when I click on it, so what the AI now does is you see this thing called thinking. So in a way, instead of answering it straight away, it is taking its time to think like what a human would probably do, because they will start first with, all right, this is what I need to do. What I need to do, is it correct? Or should I wait? See, you can see this thing, wait. All right, so all this is, they are basically narrating what the AI is thinking. Look at it. So instead of answering straight away, they'll go through a thinking process and then come up with that answer. All right. And I'll share what the difference might be, right? So you would see the whole report coming out over there at the bottom. So what is happening over here is the AI in a way is sort of trying to mimic what humans would actually think through if they were to come up with a complex challenge such as this. Because if it's purely in the general AI, it will probably just stop at here, come up with this, okay, this is the answer, I'm just going to shoot it out. But with a thinking model like what you see on DeepSeek, and I'll show you also the difference between DeepSeek and Grok, which is the one by Elon Musk, right? It will sort of come up with this thing called, but wait, there is also this part coming in, but sometimes it's considered separately. Should I consider it? Let me check it out. And they'll go check it out, think about it, and then only come back with an answer. And so will become a lot more, there's a lot more meat in terms of what you would want as an output lah. So this is the difference between the general, what do you call the general AI model versus the reasoning model. So the other one, DeepSeek comes up with this. Now, if I were to go to grok.com, which is grok.com, basically, if I were to put in the think over here, you would see very similar as well. It will take its time to think about what are the things that they should be considering before answering. And you can compare. Output will be slightly different, and we'll go through. All right. Any questions on this two different? Yeah, normally I won't cover this because it used to be only for the people that are paying for it, but now there is this whole thing that is made available. So it's available on even, I mean, ChatGPT, it's 01, so then it's paid version, but for things which are free, DeepSeek Thinking is free, Grok 3 Think is free, Claude also it's free. Gemini 2.0 Flash Thinking also is free. Yeah.
Can I ask, in what practical usage scenario have you used this?
Very good. So I have used it to plan trips. If I'm planning for a holiday, I want to ask GPT to not just plan how do I get from this destination to this destination. I can also ask it plan for me food, plan for me where to stay, what kind of thing. I just give it saying I have a family with 2 young kids, right? So if I were to pass it to a human being, basically it will have to think through a few things lah. So you guys can try it out after this as well. Just go through DeepThink and say plan a holiday, or I mean I have a family with 2 kids, help me to think through, right? So the search, so maybe since I'm here, so the search button over here is if you want DeepSeek or any of the tools to go online to search on your behalf, then you just click on the search button. It will then also ground itself towards what is currently available online. So without the search button, it will just rely on knowledge that it has been trained on before. But with the search, you click on it, it will also take into consideration any new or relevant websites out there. So similar for DeepSeek, you have to click it on Grok. You don't need Grok is constantly plugged into the internet already. Okay, so that one just a very quick difference. Okay, but giving some examples, okay, of what you can potentially do, right? With a deep reasoning model, you can potentially ask it to design a retreat or do lesson planning or do volunteer scheduling. I mean, basically anything that is complex or multiple steps, you can actually ask it to do lah. And the prompt over here is very similar to in the impact prompt that I shared earlier, but over here I have another formula for it called GRWC, Goal Return Warning Context Dump. So one thing I've realized for reasoning models, you don't need to be too complex with what you would have to input in, but you need to be very clear in terms of these few things that you see, like what goal you want it to achieve, what the return format is going to be, and any specific warning and context dump. So similarly, like the impact one, I also have created a GPT called reasoning prompt generator over here. So if you were to search for this thing called reasoning prompt generator, it will basically come up with the formula as well. Help me with the prompt, and you can just put it in its context in and use the prompt from here. into any of the reasoning model. Okay, slightly more advanced kind of discussion. Any questions on this one? Because I'm aware of time. I wanted to jump to a few more things. Okay. Anyway, the best way is to really play around with it. So reasoning models, like I mentioned, the DeepSeek is a good one to explore, and Grok Thing as well. I tried ChatGPT as well. They do have the Think. Where is it? They do have this reasoning one as well, but it's not as okay lah. ChatGPT don't think as long as the other two lah. So the output also not as good as what I got from from DeepSeek or even Grok lah. Just for a comparison, but I think the best way is really to try it. All right, so covering very quickly a few other items as well. Now, apart from what we have discussed in terms of general AI models and reasoning AI models, I wanted to also show a couple of other use cases of how we can use the AI. And so like I mentioned earlier, did I mention it? Oh yeah, translation is one thing that can be used. Now, most LLMs will be able to cover that. So if let's say, going back to this, I come up with my forgiveness sermon outline, I can easily just say translate to Chinese. It will very quickly do the full translation directly within the chat window as well. Right, and then you can do it. So translation is immediate. It's all built in already. It covers most of the languages around the world. So for any LLMs, whether if it's ChatGPT, Grok or Claude and all these things, it is actually translation is one of its core fundamental because they are also trained on it. But just from a personal experience itself, DeepSeek is a lot stronger in English and Chinese as compared to ChatGPT, whereas ChatGPT is a lot more stronger in the more Western language. I mean, like Mexican and Spanish, etc. That's based on what people have reviewed so far. So translation is something that has been inbuilt. You can do now. Another one, because I noticed there were a lot of pastors that's joining this session as well, right? I wanted to cover this real quick lah. So there's this new function that was launched only a few, I won't say maybe a few weeks or maybe a month plus ago, called Deep Research. It was initially launched by ChatGPT, but you have to pay $200 a month for it at that time. But now they made it free for even the people who paid $20 a month. But other models have come in to basically come and take over this space as well. So if I have a very specific report that I need to write, so for those who, I mean, this is basically PhD level kind of report, right? And you need it written by an AI. This is where they would most likely start. All right, I'm just going to show it so that you all can see, right? If I would like to debate this topic, so it's something that's deep and I need to write a research on, I will show you how it will sort of look like. If I go to ChatGPT, I click on this. So this one you only see on the paid one, but I'll just show it to you and how it works, right? I copy this in. I'm asking it to do a full report on this. Are you looking? Okay, so ChatGPT will actually ask me what kind of, basically ask me a bit more details. Yeah, okay, I'll try to answer as fast. Make it a general discussion, and I'll show you. Focus on, let's say, worship across All denominations. Okay. And I'll ask it to start. Okay. All right. So what it is doing, it is researching across various websites and tools as well as what it has been trained on, and it's going to come up with a very detailed research report. And this one will typically take a few minutes, sometimes even 5-10 minutes to do lah. But this particular function, if it's also available in this thing called Deep Search. So if I were to put this thing called, and this is where I started lah. So if I were to click on Deep Search, it will come up with. So you can see this is what it is currently doing. So what Grok is doing, it is going through all the various sources. It's clicking in the back end, is basically clicking on various links, researching what is being said in all these various links, and it is pulling in those reports, comparing it across various. So it's now gone through 19 web pages already, and you can see. Doing the research across all these various sources, considering. So this is his thinking process. So this is how deep research is working. So it's gone through 43 pages and go. You can see it is very thorough in terms of research. And then once it's done, it will then pull in the report based on what we are looking through, quoting the references as well. All right. And another one from Gemini, which really just launched a few days ago. So Gemini is by Google. If you go to gemini.google.com, so and I'll share this later. So they also just recently launched it. I haven't tried it yet, but they have made deep research also free lah. And it will do, I'm guessing it will do something very similar as well. All right. Oh, this one I can edit the plan if I want to. Okay, and go through all those things before starting the plan. So let's go back to, okay. So this is how ChatGPT is doing the research itself. So one thing I've realized and this was another discussion that I was having with another pastor, and they were saying that deep research actually helps to cut down a lot of their research time as well. If you have very, very deep questions that you would like to explore, and you're able to also, I won't show it here, but you're able to also include what kind of sources that you want it to search on. So instead of going broadly to all the entire internet, you can specify to say, all right, only look into, let's say, Google Scholar. So anything that has been published on Google Scholar itself will only be researched. So this is where deep research come in, and coming in all the key citations. So it will cut down significant amount of time if you were to research certain deep topics that you need to do. All right. So I wanted to just put it out there because this is one of the, I would say, new innovations that is coming. And if you are a Bible school teacher and you have a lot of PhD students, okay lah, most likely this is where they might be starting as well. All right. So I will let this run and we'll come back to it. Okay, so this is the part on deep research. Now, another interesting one is app building, where you can directly within the chat itself create app. an app. So for this particular example, I'm going to jump into this called Claude AI, which is, so for this use case, right, to build an app, it is available on this few tools. I'm going to do this thing called build a church attendance app. So if you want to follow me, you can do this with me. Yeah, go over to Claude AI. Go over to this thing called Claude AI, and I can assure you, you're going to have a lot of fun with this. So not all different AI LM models have this thing. And so I'm going to ask it to build a church attendance counter. All right, for your usher team who needs to count attendance every week. So just go into, so Claude 3.7 is their latest model. So basically this is like a hybrid. So Claude actually is very good for writing and coding. If you have a lot of writing kind of work and you need it to be more human creative in its writing, Claude is by far the best for that kind of work. But it is also very good for coding. So if I were to do this, right, go to Claude AI and click this and build an app, it will actually start building an app for me without me knowing what coding is. You guys are seeing, right, what's happening. So what Claude is doing is it's doing its own coding over here. And once it's done, it will help me preview the app. And actually, it's a usable app. And I don't have to understand any of this thing that's coming up on the right-hand side. Oh, Claude AI not available. If Claude AI is not available, try out this other tool called LeChat. LeChat, yeah. LeChat Mistral. This one is also another tool which has Mistral is by a French company. Okay, so let's go back to Claude and see. Okay, so what they have done is based on my simple instruction of build a church attendance counter, it has built me this app where I can use it to take attendance lah. Right? And if I see it and I don't like it, I can basically just add instructions, like keep it just for Sunday morning. I would like to include breakdown between adults and kids and a total. Okay, I can just use normal English and then it will start to rewrite the code to put all these inputs in already. So I mean, just think of what other use cases that you can use this for lah. I could only think of a church attendance counter when I was making this because I was the usher at that. When was it lah? Yes, last Sunday with my daughter greeting people.
You should make scheduling
Next
or the worship.
Correct. So you can do it. So you can do it over here. Let me try LeChat as well to see how it looks like. LeChat by Mistral. One thing about this is Mistral by LeChat is it's very fast. Oh no, wait, I need to configure the tool first. All right, so before I do that on this thing, if I don't configure the tool, it will not stop. If I click on tools, I have to turn this thing called code interpreter and canvas on. Why cannot? Because I'm not signed in. So I have to sign in. Once I sign in, then I can do this too. But let's go back to Claude and see. All right. So they have reconfigured my church attendance to include adults and kids. Woohoo! A full house on Sunday. Save and reset. So you can actually save for me on this day itself, can put it. So it's actually a working app itself. So if I want to turn it into a real app, I can actually copy this entire code itself and you use it and in fact sell it as an app potentially too, right? Or if I want to use it like a working, I can share it and people can actually play around with it lah. So quite fun, huh, this thing. So far, okay, question coming in, right? If any of the AI tool not available in Malaysia, so far, yeah. Fortunately, in Malaysia, we have access to quite a number, actually most of it. We haven't gotten any restriction. I mean, the government themselves are pushing AI very strongly lah. All right, so another interesting one that you can try out.
Sorry, Samuel, can you interject for a minute? Because you mentioned this a couple of times just now. You said that our Malaysian government is pushing for AI integration, and then they're wanting to make it into a subject that's taught in school and everything.
Yeah.
So something just dawned upon me. Sorry, controversial question now. Please forgive me. Is there a possibility that that they may actually use this to propagate their religion?
This one is recorded, so I have my thoughts on that specific thing. I mean, fundamentally, a lot of what is going on in AI is based on pre-trained data lah. So it depends on how trained the data is on certain religion and culture and ethics. That will influence the outcome, right? And in reality is Christianity's point of view is one of the least represented when it comes into pre-training data lah, as compared to other religion. That's the current reality, which is why it's on one side, I'm also encouraging there should be more Christians, more churches also using AI, because the more we use it, the more also in a way we are influencing the data that it churns out. Right. So, I mean, that's a very short, succinct answer, I would say lah. The tool on its own will, I mean, most companies won't use it to manipulate. They can choose to hide certain things or block certain things and all, but for it to be useful, they can't restrict too many things lah. Right. I'm not sure, does it answer?
We will chat after the session.
Can. We can talk after this. So this is, I would say, another use case for yeah lah. Okay, so the other one would be very similar to reasoning. You can use it for brainstorming, for thinking as well lah. If you want to brainstorm ideas, e.g. brainstorm ideas on how to engage kids in Malaysia for Sunday school in this day and age, share resources needed. You can even ask it for estimated budget, etc. So very similar, like the thinking kind of tool. You click on Grok, DeepSeek, and ChatGPT, you will be able to do it as well. All right. So these are just some of the other use cases. There are a lot more things that can be done, of course, but we'll cover this, the basic one. Very quickly, I know it's already 10 p.m. Do you guys still have some time? So you can. I wanted to just mention a few things. Actually, more important, the other two slides. So on the tool itself, it's not just available through text and all, right? If you have an app itself, you can actually use it over voice and video. I wanted to showcase this as well, but we don't have that much time. So if you have the ChatGPT app or the Gemini app and all, you can in fact just use it with your phone. Turn it on, turn the voice mode on. Whatever we talked about, just talk in your own natural language. It will respond to you, and the conversation will also be recorded down in text. With like Gemini, with ChatGPT, you can even turn the video on and can take pictures, and based on the picture that you submit, it's able to even analyze and come up with respective output based on what you would want. Okay, but this one, it's quite interesting use case. So if you want to try it out, maybe you can go try it out first, and we can come in on Thursday to see what your experience would be. All right. So just use it with your voice, and you can turn it on video as well. I wanted to cover this, but I don't know whether we have time to do this, because this is something extremely useful, especially when you come into, let's say, creating Bible study notes and all. Maybe I'll just cover very quickly AI Studio, Google. So what we've gone through just now through there it is, ChatGPT, DeepSeek, Grok, Gemini, Claude. I didn't cover Perplexity, but Perplexity actually is very good if you have very short, quick answers. So this one, Perplexity has it's sort of replacing Google, coming up with the answers. But we'll cover that if we have time, and we cover the chat as well. Now, Google AI Studio, I would say, is something that is, if you want slightly more advanced usage in terms of how you would want the AI to work, because from here I can do a couple of things, including safety settings. So if I want to turn certain things on, right, like harassments, etc., in my output, I can do that over here. So there's a lot more control in terms of the output I want it to be. So Google AI Studio is also under Google. So all the models that it is currently using is all Gemini models, and you can see all the different explanation. Don't worry about all this cost part you see, because those are more for the enterprises. But I would say the key thing over here would be to look at the way how you want the output to look like, and also where's the grounding, and also temperature is slightly okay, maybe more advanced kind of thing. So temperature is basically if I want it to be more factual or more creative in the response. So if I want, let's say if I were to upload the Bible in here and I put my temperature to 0, all the response will be 100% based on the Bible that I uploaded. Nothing will be created by the AI. So there will be less what they call hallucination in the AI. AI will basically, when they say the word hallucination, means they are creating stuff up. But for them, it makes sense to explain certain things. So this is where they would adjust so-called that temperature. So AI Studio is something very good if you would like something a bit more advanced. We'll cover this a bit also tomorrow, because via this, we are able to also generate stuff like coming up with a birthday card through this, coming up with other things as well. But if I want to create a Bible study, I will be able to do this, but use this tool. But maybe we'll save that for Thursday, and I'll try to cover this in more depth, sacrificing certain other things as well. But more importantly, today I wanted to cover these 2 slides in terms of comparison. All right, so we covered a few of this, but giving you a very quick overview in terms of what is good for what item. This is Peter Young is one guy that I follow that has done extensive research on the different models. So if I'm using it for, like just now, we tried out ChatGPT, right? For everyday answers, math, reasoning, deep research, voice chat. I mean, they are pretty good at this. Claude is extremely good at writing and coding, like mentioned. Grok is also somewhat quite good at all these things. They do have a lot more things that are free right now from Grok and Gemini. And Gemini is good in more creative stuff, since Google owns YouTube, right? It covers that. So this is one comparison table. If you are looking at doing certain things over here, there are different models which are better than others. All right, but more importantly would be the data privacy and practices across the different channels. So OpenAI that owns ChatGPT and all, they are somewhat more transparent in terms of how their data is being used, and what the thing, because on ChatGPT itself, you can, let me just show you, right? If I were at the paid version at ChatGPT, I can actually, no, not here, control whether I choose to give my data. Okay, all right, so this was the report that was generated, deep research on the question that I had. Ta-da! Look at this. This like a 10-page PhD report. Okay. On the paid version, but I wanted to show, because on ChatGPT, I can choose whether my data controls, right? If I want my input to be used to train other data, or should I turn it off? So not many platforms have this similar thing. So OpenAI is somewhat transparent. It is. Anthropic, they're European based also, so they are required by law also to be transparent on how data are being used. Mistral AI in France is also quite tight in terms of how it is data is being used. For Grok, it's not that great because it's Elon Musk lah, so he does whatever he wants to do. All right. Now, the question we always get is, what about the tools which are made in China? So the DeepSeek, the Qwen by Alibaba, Baidu, and then the new one, Ernie 4.5, that was also launched. So when I was doing the research, and I've also asked a few of these tools to research for me, right? It was somewhat difficult for me to understand how the data is being used when you're actually using it. So as a word of caution, I would just put it out there that anything that is free, anything, right, that is free, whether if it's on ChatGPT, whether what, the guideline or the rule of thumb would be, do not share personal information. Right? Don't share your phone number, don't share your bank account, don't share your where you live, etc. Don't post up pictures of your loved ones. Anything that is sensitive data in nature, do not put it up to all these tools which are free. ChatGPT also is available on WhatsApp, right? And so a lot of people also use it, chatting like on ChatGPT on WhatsApp, like they're talking to a friend, then start sharing photos. Hey, can you find out where this place is, etc. Right? And then they have pictures of their family in those things. All right. So the word of caution, if it's not very clear to you how the data is being used, the best is be very cautious in what kind of input you're putting the data in. Right. So that's for me a general rule of thumb. Right. But specifically for the Chinese related tools, this one I would also be extra cautious in terms of what data. So if I have an Excel sheet that I want it to analyze, remove all sensitive information there. That is, firstly, any PII, anything personal identifiable information, do remove it before sharing it with or using it in any of these tools. All right. Cool. Questions? Or hopefully it's not too much information. This one, what I've covered is more of a fundamental, must know kind of information, but we can cover more and in a separate time if we want to or needed to. So I covered quite a number of things today. We talked about the ethics. We talked about what AI is. We covered the benefits or risk related to it. We also talked about what are the potential uses of generative AI in churches. We covered several different tools from ChatGPT to DeepSeek to Gemini to Claude, and some of the formulas that I personally use when it comes to prompting. So this would cover the day one of things. Day two, we will do into more of the other generative AI outputs in terms of using it to come up with nice images like this. All right. So that's for day two on Thursday. All right. I don't want to take up too much time. I know it's already way past 10 p.m. and I wanted to share a lot more things, but I don't want to overload too much information as well. But I do hope after this session, you guys will play around with it, try things out, and I will be sharing. I'll remove the day two slide and I'll share this day one slide through Pastor Lemuel to share with you guys. Then you can also just refer and play around with it. But before ending, very quick, any questions?
I have a question.
Yes, Michaela.
Are all answers that we get from AI basically compiled human answers that are found online?
Nope, not necessary. Yeah.
So it's up to the creators to teach what they want to the AI?
Yeah. I mean, firstly, also, it is important to check what kind of output you get out of AI. Don't just blindly copy paste. We haven't, at least right now, the intellectuality of AI is still not, I would say, complete yet. There are still a lot of flaws in the output. So always check, especially when it comes into theology and use cases for churches, right? I think it's very important to double check everything. It will help you do certain things like research and all that might take up time, but always cross-check to see also where are they citing it from. Is the website they're citing from credible or not? Or is it some funny website?
Okay.
Do all these AI tools, do they cite the source for the answers they gave us?
So the general one don't. They would give you quick answers based on its knowledge. But when you click on things like deep research, then yes, they are required to cite it.
Okay.
Because they are taking their information from various sources.
Another question I have, I'm not sure if you're able to explain it all, because we have a limited amount of time, but who teaches AI and how is it done?
Who teaches AI? Josiah also want to join the class.
Yeah.
I mean, there are a lot of resources available out there. There are a couple of people that I also follow on Substack, even on TikTok and all, right, which explore the various uses of AI. I mean, I can share those few slash influencers across to learn it. But the best source also is to directly learn from the owners themselves. That means if you go to ChatGPT's developer website, they will teach you how to use and maximize the outputs of ChatGPT. If you were to go to Anthropic, which runs Claude, they themselves will teach you how to maximize the use of Claude.
Okay, I think those who have more answers can stay back and then you will have to pay extra for every answer. Or you can try to ask ChatGPT for those questions. Okay, but in the meantime, let's end our session. Thank you very much, Samuel, and thank you for all of you for being here. And let me just close the session officially with a word of prayer. And then after that, we can continue to chat and try other things under Samuel's supervision. Okay, we're going to pray. Lord Jesus, we thank you for this time where we can learn together. I pray that whatever information we have learned, we will not just be informed, but give us wisdom also on how we can use the information that we have gained today. I pray that we will not fear whatever that is unknown, but we will learn up on it, and in our own time, in our own way, we will seek to understand it and be wise about how to use the tools that are available to us. Bless us this evening as we go to bed. Give us a good rest tonight, and until we meet again, keep us safe. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much, Samuel. Thank you. Thank you, Lemel.
Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you,
Thank
Samuel.
you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, good night.
Very, very informative.
Thank you, Uncle
Good
Samuel.
night. Good night.
And,
We'll be
Thanks,
here
Good
for
Samuel.
night.
your
Thank you,
questions.
everyone. Good night.
and I'll just hang out a bit more if you have any.
Yep.
Once we go off recording, then we can.
Yeah, which is now.
Okay.
Sorry,
So-
it didn't dawn upon me that it was being recorded when I
Well,
asked that question.
it's more for closed sharing.